Greetings. We're back in the rose garden. I don't know about you, but I'm about tired of winter and I'm ready to get out in the yard. But the realities are it may not be quite time to get out there and do all the planting that really makes us feel good as gardeners. So let me share something with you that I believe is absolutely essential to a good garden, to a good landscape, to a healthy soil. Healthy soils make for healthy plants. And this is a practice that you can incorporate into your regular garden chores that will make all the difference in the world. I'm talking about mulch. I'm a big fan of mulch. I've seen what it can do out here in our park system. I've seen what it can do in my own landscape. You know, when I moved into my home, I had an established landscape. It was not possible to go in and improve the soil, yet the soil had not been improved when the landscape was put in. So by putting mulch down, I'm able to improve my soil, which makes my plants do better. Anyway, let's just talk about some of the different options about the mulch and maybe some of the pros and cons. You're probably going to go to your local garden store or your big box store and you're going to buy mulch. There are three types that are typically available. I'll start with the pine bark mulch. Pine bark mulch is a byproduct of the lumber industry, the pine, from the pine trees. It's it's about a medium brown in color and it is very attractive. It's very fine, but it's a good product. It's sustainable since it is a byproduct. And the reason I say sustainable is one of the products you're not going to see up here while I'm talking is cypress mulch. Cypress mulch, while it doesn't float and it seems to be very popular, remember that when you purchase a bag of cypress mulch, you have purchased mulch that comes from a tree that was specifically killed to give us mulch. I think there are much better ways to get mulch than to go and take down a tree for that. So that's why you're not going to see me spend much time on cypress mulch. The next mulch that's out there is a hardwood mulch. It's a shredded hardwood mulch. Of the three mulches I brought today, it is the darkest. Remember also that whatever the color this mulch is coming out of the bag, as it ages, it will lighten up and it will change color. That's okay, that is natural. It's a natural part of the decomposition. And when I bring up decomposition, I want you to understand that none of this mulching is a permanent thing. If you have done everything just right, an application of mulch will last about 6 months. If you've never done it before, you might get a year out of it. But after that, you have built the microbes up. You have improved that soil web so that the bark breaks down, generally speaking, within about 6 months. One thing I would tell you on the hardwood mulch, it's very fine, and because it is very fine, sometimes it tends to mat together, which makes it a little bit hard for water to get through. So watch that. If you do experience that, just take a rake out there and rake it and break that surface up so that your water can get through the mulch. The last bag mulch I brought is cedar mulch. Cedar mulch has more of a red color to it. It also has been reported to have some properties that repel insects, one of them being mosquitoes. I'm not sure if I just have so many plants and so many hiding spots that the mosquitoes come anyway. I haven't had great luck with it. I think perhaps if I didn't create such a great environment for my mosquitoes, this would help. But this is certainly an organic, natural way to perhaps try to control some of the insects around your home. So these are all possibilities, but I'm going to share with you a possibility that does not cost you any money and, in my opinion, truly mimics Mother Nature. You know, we're out here in the garden. You're going to see this natural mulch all over the place because our goal was to mimic Mother Nature. And by mimicking Mother Nature, I mean when we put this stuff on the ground, our mulch here has pieces of the trunks, pieces of the branches, the leaves, the twigs, the whole part of the tree. And why that is important is because as each part decomposes, it's providing different nutrients to the soil, which is providing different nutrients to your plants so you get a fuller spectrum. Let me show you the mulch I'm talking about. This is the mulch I'm talking about. It comes from arborists. It goes through their tree chippers one time. So if you were to actually go to a place that sold bulk mulch, you might have this called a rustic cut. It's very natural. It is not necessarily uniform in the particle sizes or the color, but it's natural. We were able to use this type of mulch in this garden when we did our rose trials with the earth kind, and for 5 years we never added 1 drop of fertilizer to our roses. We simply relied on the decomposition of this type of mulch to feed our roses. And I will tell you that we were incredibly successful with it. And it provided it as a slow release type of fertilizer, just exactly what the plants like to have. So I would encourage you to use this type of mulch. Now, I told you you could buy it at some of the supply houses in bulk as a rustic cut. The other thing that's always possible is if you have somebody in your neighborhood trimming trees, it's always worth going up and asking them if they would like to dump their chips in your driveway. It's a lot of mulch. Make sure you can handle it, or perhaps get together with some fellow gardeners so you can share it. But it does the job well, and it's not costly. Another thing that you can use for mulch is compost. And this is some compost we created using the mulch, but we also used some greens. We did this in our community garden. So our garden debris, our garden waste, we composted in with mulch or ground up leaves, something brown, something green. And while this is not a finished mulch, a finished compost, you can still see what the particles are. I wouldn't use it to till in, but for a mulch it works beautifully. Because it's already well started in the decomposition, you're going to find it doesn't last as long, but it's feeding your soil and your plants quite quickly. Another thing that is a great mulch, and I do this in my yard, and we all know that the trees are dropping something year-round. This is probably going to blow. It's windy out here. But right now we're getting close to when the live oaks start dumping all their leaves. I would encourage you to get your mulching mower with a bag and mulch it. And mulch it a couple of times so that it ends up nice and fine. You can easily use this mulch to mulch your landscape with. And if you don't have enough leaves in your yard, and I don't, I go around to my neighbors and I pick up the bags on the curb. I prevent this stuff from going to the landfill, which is very important when you're looking at sustainable ways to garden. This probably is going to break down in 3 to 4 months because it is so fine. And many of you might say, well, I don't have a bag on my mower. Well, take your leaves to your driveway. Run the mower back and forth over it. Get them fine, and then if you're lucky and it happens to be next to your landscape bed, then just take a blower and blow it in there, or you'll have to pick it up and move it. But it's a great way to use your leaves. Don't take them to the curb and have them hauled away. Even when you put them in a paper bag, taking them to the landfill, they do not decompose. When a landfill is doing its job right, it keeps things locked up so that it doesn't pollute the groundwater. It's not an environment which allows for decomposition, so it's just taking up space. So let's be good stewards and let's put these leaves back onto our landscape, all right? Now, why am I telling you to do all of this? Well, some of the benefits of mulch, number one, is that it conserves water. Right now we're in a very, very dry late winter. This could be a year where we don't get much rain, so we want to make sure that the water we do use is efficient and effective. By putting the mulch on top of the ground, you prevent the evaporation of water from the soil. The other thing it does is it moderates temperature. And that's certainly something we've seen lately. You know, I believe it was 24 about 3 days ago, and I believe right now it's 70 degrees. So our temperatures here tend to go up and down and up and down. By keeping a good layer of mulch on the soil, it will moderate those temperatures, which means a healthier environment for the root system of your landscape plants. The other thing it does is that it slows down weeds. It prevents the weeds that need sunlight to germinate from germinating, because most of those weed seeds are down next to the soil. So if I put mulch on top of that, those seeds are not going to see sunlight, and therefore they won't germinate. Now the ones that you do have germinate, you're going to find pull very easily up through this mulch. The other thing it does is it passively improves the soil. So I can take a clay soil that's been under mulch for 3 or 4 years, I can go out there with my hand trowel, take a nice clump of soil, and you're going to find that it crumbles. Totally different than if you were to go out and dig up soil that had not been underneath mulch and was native, and it's going to be clay and it's not going to have that good soil structure. So you want to improve that soil structure, which also improves your drainage, so that when we do get into those periods where it does rain, and we know we can do that here, the soil can percolate in and it's more effective for your plants. So it's going to conserve moisture, it's going to moderate the temperature, it's going to slow down the weed germination, it's going to make it easier to pull weeds, and it's going to improve your soil structure. Wow, and that all feeds your plants and makes for a much healthier landscape. And if you're picking up those bags off the curb, you can do all of that for free. So I would encourage you also right now to go out and do that, because your plants, you've cleaned up your landscape, your perennials you've trimmed back, everything's trimmed back. You're probably going to have as much exposed soil this time of the year as you would any time of the year. So it's a great time to get that mulch. Sort of resist the urge to put out any color right now. It's still a little bit too early. Put those in the pots, but go out and put some mulch and keep on doing that. Make that a regular garden chore, and you'll see great improvements. Just because I know somebody's going to call me and ask, the plants that are behind me that are blooming, they're called Lenten rose. Today happens to be the first day of Lent. They typically start blooming this time of the year. It's a helleborus. It prefers shade, but one of the great things about this shade plant is it likes a dry shade. Looks great in late winter, early spring. Sometimes may just sort of disappear in the summer when it gets hot, and then it's right back in the fall. Lenten rose or helleborus, you're going to find a lot of cultivars out there at your garden centers right now. It's been great seeing you again. I look forward to an amazing year of gardening with you. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day.